Well, there is certainly something wrong with this guitar. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to try something a little bit different than normal. A friend of mine gave me this Epiphone Masterbilt guitar that is in really bad shape, to say the least. It's got a broken headstock, and it took a really bad fall evidently. It's missing a chunk out of the body. I think that chunk is actually, I think it's inside. I think this piece, I hear something rattling around. Anyway, it's in here. There's the piece. And got the bag of stuff for the bridge, and I've got the pickup in this bag, and I've got the tuners, the tail piece is in this bag as well, this little trapeze piece. So, you know what the heck, I'm gonna try to put this thing back together and see what it looks like when we're done. First things first, I'm gonna put the tuners back on this headstock. Get that done, then I'm gonna see if I can secure this, get this piece of wood back in the body, make it look semi-decent. All right, this is gonna be kind of interesting. I have no instruction manual on this. I could look up some Masterbilts, I guess, but it's kind of self-explanatory. But this is the trapeze here. I'm gonna put this back on. The holes are screwed in the body. I've got the screws for it. And here's the electronic system, right? So this electronic system, here's the volume and the tone. This plug is gonna go into here. And here's the little piezo pickup that's mounted on the bridge. We've got a hole right here. And this hole inside the tailpiece with the bridge, we'll go over that. And then here's the saddle part. This is the piezo pickup that's going to go down through this hole and then down through there, and then it will plug into this little 3.5-inch plug on this. I don't even know if this works, but hopefully it does. This is a little bit loose, so I need to put I gotta get a little nut for that and a washer, so I'll put that on there as well. I can't really assemble this yet without the headstock being on the guitar, because for this to stay on the guitar I need strings. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mount this trapeze piece, leave this alone for now, the bridge, and I'm going to put the pickup system into the guitar. And I'm gonna mount the tone and volume control up underneath here. I'll glue it back on in place, and we'll test the electronics to see if it works. If they work, then that's great. Then I'll proceed to try to fix this up as best I can, and then I'll glue the headstock on, I guess. So there's the trapeze, it's on, and looks okay. I thought it was bent. This thing took a fall, man. I wish I knew the story, what happened with this thing, but it's screwed in, and yeah, cool. All right, so now I'm going to put a washer and a nut on this, and I'm gonna install the electronics and see if this works. Hopefully it does. Okay, that was easy enough. We got that on there. There is a battery in here, so this 9-volt battery. Let me give it the lick test. It has a little bit of juice in there, but probably gonna need a new 9-volt. So now let's begin and repair that body. First things first, I'm gonna check the electronics before we get started on the body. Got the saddle and this bridge piece ready to go. So I'm gonna drop this pickup down into the hole, and basically I'm just gonna let this piece rest here on the body. take some painter's tape and affix it to the body. And I've got the tone and the volume plugged into this, and this just needs to be screwed into this section of the body. So I'm gonna leave these wires in here. Once I get this screwed in, I will plug the piezo pickup into there. I've got a fresh battery in here. Once I get this screwed in, we'll check and see if we've got power. All right, so this has to line up with a cut on the body. So this little jack part has to go on the bottom part. So it goes in like this. All right, perfect. That's ready to plug in. I'll screw this in, and then we'll do a test on the electronics, see if it works. Okay, so I've got it plugged in. The amp is not on. I've got everything ran. Here's the volume and tone. I'm not sure which is up or down as far as volume, so I'm gonna take a screwdriver and tap on this and see if we have sound. Gonna run this Fishman amp here in the shop. Gonna turn it on. So let's see. I don't really have a lot of hope for this. I'm not hearing anything. Let me turn these knobs a different direction. The amp is making a noise. It works. It works. Awesome. So that's loud. That's actually very, very strong. So that's good. So now what I'm gonna do, whoa, that's not good. What I'm gonna do is tape this down out of the way of this, and I'm gonna fix the body the best I can. I'm not a luthier, but I'm gonna do my best to get this secure, and then we'll get the headstock glued on, and after 24 hours, we can string this thing up and see how she sounds. Okay, this is kind of cool. I was reaching up in here, and with a small screwdriver, I was able to push and pry this piece back up into the body and get it flush. Sorry for the poor camera filming here. I'm doing my best here. It's missing a little bit of wood here. I'm going to put some dye, some stain on here to make it look a little bit better. But I got this piece flush. This piece was wedged way down in the body, and it was really hard to get back up again. There's a little bit of a crack here, so I'm going to get some tight bond. I'm going to clamp all this down best I can. And then this piece here should fit like up underneath the way that it's shaped. I'm going to try to glue this piece in place. Once I get this piece in place, I can focus on getting this crack and everything stabilized and glued so it'll stay put. Cosmetically, I'm not that worried about it. I just want it to be stable and not have pieces falling off of it. Make it playable. Okay, so when you put little pieces like this back into a guitar, I've found that they really cause a lot of issues trying to get them back in the spot that they broke out of, because they're just, shaped weirdly. It's like they just won't fit. So I'm gonna lightly sand down the edge of this piece and make it just a little narrower, and see if I can get it to fit into the piece of this, top of this guitar, because I'm reaching down underneath in the hole of the guitar, and I'm trying to get this piece to fit in here like so, and it's really close, but as you can see, it just doesn't want to go up all the way in. So I'm going to keep sanding this down and see if I can get this piece to fit just perfectly. Okay, I think this is going to work. So let's check this out here. Okay, I'm going to push this in like so. Yep, that's going to fit. That's going to go in there. So I'm going to take this off camera for a minute and work with this a little bit, then show you what it looks like. Okay, that didn't turn out so bad. What I did is I took some tight bond and I got it down in the crack of this guitar, down in these cracks, and I'm going to push this down. and just run some tight bond through here and get tight bond all in this crack, and wipe it off. I'm going to take these braces. I've got these big braces like this. I'm going to brace clamp the body down, and while it's clamped, I'm going to put the headstock on the guitar also and glue that. So we'll have two different areas of this guitar clamped at the same time, the body and the headstock. But first I'm going to get the glue in here and then clamp the body down to seal it. I tape this off just to prevent a mess. I don't want to clean up a lot of glue, so I'm just gonna jam a lot of glue in here right now, and then take the tape off, and then I'll clamp it and then wipe the excess glue off, so cleanup is easier later. All right, so what I did is I just crammed as much glue into those cracks, or this long crack, as I could, and I'll take off this tape. That's always satisfying when you do that. Awesome. Cool. And I'll just wipe this off. I'll clean this up before I clamp it. When I clamp this thing, it's going to push glue out of this crack as well, but you can see there's actually glue inside this crack. This is going to glue really nice. This top is very thin. It's very light, probably spruce or maple, and it'll glue fast. So I'm going to get to clamping. Okay, this is clamped really tight. Not overly tight, but tight. As you can see, it pushed a lot of glue out of the crack, which is good, because that means I had a lot in there. I'm using these Irwin quick grips. These things are awesome. This real big one was nice to get around the whole body of this guitar. So that's clamped real tight. So I'm gonna let this dry. In the meantime, I'm gonna fix this headstock as well. Okay, so here's the headstock. This is a pretty terrible break, but it's kind of clean. It's kind of a clean break. And if we look at the break up here, there's not really any missing pieces. This thing's gonna fit right on. At least I've got a lot of wood to apply the glue. It's not just a straight break where I'd have to put, route the neck out in the headstock and put a dowel in there. So I'm just gonna put a lot of tight bond here and on the back of this headstock and clamp it on as tightly as possible for 24 hours. And so I'm gonna glue this on. I'll show you the headstock clamped. I have done many headstocks like this, repairs. They never break. It's probably stronger after it's glued than when it was manufactured. So here we go. So there it is, it's clamped. I used two of the Irwin quick grip clamps. The headstock's missing a few pieces of wood on the edge. I'll figure out what to do with that later, but that won't affect, this thing staying glued. It'll be just cosmetic. If we look at the back of it, here's what the back of that clamp job looks like. So it's very secure, looks good. 24 hours, we'll get this thing unclamped, put the tuners on it and the pick guard, and string it up. Before I add the tuners on this headstock, I'm gonna sand all this down and get all this crap cleaned up and try to dye this area so it looks a little bit nicer. Let me show you the back, what it looks like, where the glue seam is. Okay, so it's got glue residue on it, but this will come off real easy. And I'll steel wool and sand this down a little bit to make it look better, but it's the back of the headstock. You can't really even feel it. It's really nice. You can just feel a little bit of an edge there, but the back of this guitar is pretty. Everything else looks nice on it. So I'm gonna get this headstock looking a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner, get these tuners on it, and buff this out and string it up. Okay, so this headstock is just gnarly. I put some dye on it. The dye's drying. I just wanted it to kind of cover the blemishes. Kind of like putting makeup on a pig. I'm not after perfection, man. This thing I thought was unsalvageable, so we're going to, it is what it is. I'm gonna string this thing up, and I got a nut. Had to put a nut on this. It shimmed just a little bit, so it's high enough, and hopefully that dye will dry here in just a minute. But I'm gonna string it up with some medium gauge phosphorus bronze strings and see what happens. See if it holds under tension. Okay, got the strings on it. It plays great. Everything is dialed in. I had to shim this nut up quite a bit because the original nut was lost. The action is excellent. Plays really smooth. Now we're going to put the pick guard on it. All right, the pick guard is on, and she looks great, man. This thing was in such bad shape, and it plays really nice now. I feel really good that this thing has new life and it can be used. And it looks beat up, but that's part of the appeal now. It's been through a lot. It's got a second chance at life, and let's do a sound test. Let's check it out. We'll test it out acoustically and electronically.